So guys, I've owned my Tesla Model 3 for over a year now. We have over 16,000 miles on it, and it's honestly been a great experience. A lot has happened, and I just want to share it with you guys in this video. If I was going to buy another car right this second, it would be another Tesla, like a Tesla Model 3 Performance or Model S or Model Y. Basically anything Tesla I'm all for. I really can't see myself going to a different car manufacturer in 2020 until they step it up and really get fully fledged into electricity and electric powered vehicles. This is the way to go. So it's important to note that my journey to Tesla did not start a year ago when I got it. It actually started when I bought my Chevy Volt about 2 years ago. So buying the Chevy Volt kind of was my first jump start into a full electric vehicle. Now it did have gas, but it operated as a full EV because you just plugged it in and it used all the electricity until it was completely out and you ran on gas. So my commute to work was all electric. Short trips around town were electric. So basically longer trips though were on gas, and when it clicked over the gas, I would just get so triggered. You could just hear it, you could feel it. It was just a different experience. I really just wanted that full electric experience. And initially when I bought the Chevy Volt, I liked the fact of having gas because I had this range anxiety that I kind of just self-inflicted upon myself. But when I got the Tesla, the range anxiety shortly went away because I have the long range rear wheel drive model, 325 miles of range, which is great. I have gone on long trips perfectly fine, which I'm going to discuss in this video. You plug in every single day, there's supercharging, there's nothing to worry about at all. And the only time I've been to a gas station is when Tesla gave me a gas loaner, which I'll also talk about that later in this video. So I guess it's just natural to first discuss the parts of owning an electric car. So what's different and how that has changed my life and how I operate. So the biggest thing is you're plugging your car in every single day when you get home from work. You're never going to the gas station. So that right there saves you a ton of time. Like even if it's saving 5 minutes every week or every 2 weeks, like it's way more convenient. There's never that time where you're like, oh gosh, I have to get up early to go to the gas station, or oh gosh, I have to go to the gas station after work. None of that, that's all gone. Obviously, the times that you have to go to trips out of town and you have to supercharge, that's when you kind of get a little bit less convenience. Supercharging is quick in my opinion. It takes 15, 20, 30 minutes to get to your next destination, which is great for me. You can get a snack, use the bathroom, walk around, perfectly fine. But it is important to point out that right then and there, it does take longer than filling up with gas. But I think at the end of the day, if you take every single time you charge at home versus every single time you're not going to the gas station, and then when you go on trips, supercharging versus gas stations, I think your total time saved is still higher with an electric vehicle. Because for me, I go out of town very, very seldomly, a few times per year, versus charging at home nearly every day. So 365 days out of the year, probably 350 days, I'm at home charging, no problem at all. Also, it being an electric vehicle, of course, it's way quieter. It's kind of insane, when you turn it on, it's like always on. For one, like there is no ignition, there's no on button, there's no off button. It's just kind of like always on. When you put it in the drive, it doesn't even seem like it does anything. It just kind of goes. So for me, I love it. Of course, there's going to be some car enthusiasts that say they really love the loud sound of their exhaust. They love that V8, whatever. I love the electric car. I love the sound of the motors when you floor it. It's just like this little whistling, whining noise. It's great. And to point out, this is the long-range rear-wheel drive vehicle, so it's not the fastest. It's not even the second fastest. The all-wheel drive model and the performance model is faster than this one, but this does have an unofficial 0 to 60 speed of 4.6 seconds after 2 software updates that improved the time, which is great. And those 2 software updates, importantly to note, they happened in the 1 year that I owned this vehicle. So this vehicle actually got faster the longer I owned it, which what other vehicle can you say does that? So I do also want to cover the physical appearance of this car after 1 year of ownership. Like, is there any blemishes, any damages? How about the exterior, the interior, all that stuff? From the front of the vehicle, you would expect, since there's no grille, that there would be some damage, like some rock dings. I really don't see any, nothing I can notice. My tires are flawless. I don't have any curb rash because I know how to drive. The interior is, for me, nearly flawless. I put a white wrap on it a little bit ago because it comes stock with this like glass black material that gets so like smudged up. So I just put a white matte wrap on it and it's great. You just wipe it down. And for the interior, the white seats, you would expect them to get dirty. I just use baby wipes on them and I'm good to go. The only issue I do want to point out is the back seat. If you've been subscribed to my channel, you know I did a test where I poured espresso on the seat and it was quite a bit, and I kind of let it sit on the seat for a while, and I think it just like seeped into it and kind of like stained the foam underneath, or I don't know. I've tried to clean it. I've gotten this car professionally detailed and it's still there. It's not crazy, but it is there. But it is important to note, it was pure espresso. It was a lot of liquid just sitting there. In a normal situation, if you just like spilled a drink, I think it would wipe up fine. And importantly to note, I had a Diet Dr. Pepper back there that exploded and it went everywhere, but it was just drops everywhere, and that came off perfectly fine. So like the stain resistance ability of this car is great. It was just my dumb self doing some extreme tests that really wasn't warranted. Okay, so one thing that's very polarizing with this vehicle that most other cars don't have are the door handles, which for me, it's second nature. Like I have no idea that they're different from another car. It's just what you get used to. If you have people new to a Tesla, or if they've never driven in some bougie car with door handles like this, it is a little bit weird. Once they understand how it works, it's no problem. But another issue is like the inside. So like the button that you use to open this door, it's weird because there's a button and there's also a lever. I have so many passengers that try to pull that lever despite me having a little sticker on the button to open it. I kind of just wish they did a normal handle, a normal lever that everyone's used to, because I'm always yelling at my passengers to open the door correctly, because even if they're used to it, and especially if like older people ride in your vehicle, you could tell them, but they will forget and they'll just forever pull that emergency lever, and you'll get that warning that says, warning, will damage your freaking car if you keep doing it. I think a software update was put out though to where if you pull that emergency lever, it's not going to do anything. And to be honest, this emergency lever on this door has probably been pulled dozens and dozens and dozens of times. I'm not even exaggerating, and nothing has happened, so whatever. And as far as like more physical any issues, when I first bought this car, I noticed that there was a whistling noise on the driver mirror. Like something wind was just seeping into, and it would make a whistling noise around like 45 miles an hour. I basically lived with it for months and months because it seemed like not really a big issue to go get it serviced over. But when I did get hardware 3 installed on this Tesla Model 3, they fixed it for me. So hardware 3, that's going to be something else I'm going to talk about. But they did take care of the whistling noise, no problem at all. They even seemed to kind of like know what I was talking about. Like I couldn't really pinpoint where it was coming from, but they fixed it, no problem. So it was probably a common issue with my specific VIN range. And another thing, unique to a Tesla and electric vehicles is the fact that there is no engine in the front. So we have a frunk. So there's more storage space there for you. But for me, I really don't use it because, for one, I only have my phone. I don't have like a key fob. So to actually open the frunk, you have to go in your phone and open it, and then shutting it is weird. At least the back, the trunk, you can open with your hand and you can just slam it shut. I've had people try to slam the frunk, and then I start yelling at them because there's a specific way to shut it. You have to lower it gently, and you have to put both hands on both sides of the Tesla logo and shut it. Like nothing should have to, like, it shouldn't be like that. You shouldn't have to like teach your passengers how to use your vehicle. Like they should be able to open your vehicle, no problem. They should be able to shut your frunk, no problem. It's just like too specialized. It should just be automatic, Okay, so now I guess I can talk about my experience getting hardware 3 and my experience with Tesla service. So this is the only time my vehicle has ever been serviced for getting hardware 3, and then also getting the wind noise looked at. So hardware 3 and the wind noise and actually getting my tires rotated, I think it was at service for like 2 or 3 days. I really had no issues. There was a little bit of a issue communicating via text message. I thought they weren't responding, but apparently it was an issue with SMS, whatever, water under the bridge. My biggest gripe with service is that I was actually looking forward to so much getting a Model S loaner because I've never driven one. Even if it's an older Model S, I was just kind of excited to get into another Tesla. Like, you can't blame me. So I get there. Of course, they say, which they probably say this to everybody, the last person got the last Model S loaner. So, luckily though, I was giving a rental car, but of course, you can imagine going from a Tesla Model 3 to most average rental vehicles was a pretty lousy experience. It was like a brand new 2020 Toyota RAV4. It's a bigger vehicle, nowhere close to being the same speed, nowhere close to being the same amount of like tech and stuff inside it. So I was ready to get back in my Model 3. And once I got into my Model 3, I had hardware 3. I'm happy. I've been good. I love the experience of hardware 3, especially with these new upgrades coming out, like stop sign and stoplight recognition and auto stopping. Also too, I guess it'd be a great time to mention the cost of ownership. So Teslas are kind of known for being bougie and expensive, and how can you afford a Tesla? Like, you must be rich. But that's not really the case. I mean, yes, it is pricey, but there's other factors that play that make the total cost of ownership lower. So insurance, for one, I was extremely nervous about insurance costs because I used to have Geico and I did a quote for a Tesla Model 3 and it was like some astronomical amount. Like, so astronomical where I told them my Progressive rate, like, they couldn't match it at all. So I switched to Progressive and I've been happily paying like mid 500s every 6 months, which that's great for a brand new $50,000+ car. Like, you can't beat it. So maintenance costs, like, what have I paid on maintenance in the last year? Obviously no oil changes and no gas or anything like that. I had to buy a bottle of wiper fluid, which was what, like $3. And I also did pay Tesla to rotate my tires very close to the 1 year mark. When I got hardware 3 installed, I paid, I think it was like $80, which I'm like embarrassed to say that because I know you can get your tires rotated for free, but I was having everything else done already with the hardware 3 install and having them look at a problem with my mirror. I was like, whatever, go ahead and just do it, please, and I'll pay for it, whatever. Okay, so total electric cost, let's look at that. So I have my vehicle right here. My average efficiency is 240 watt hours a mile. My total power used is 4,047 kilowatt hours. So this is going to kind of be like a rudimentary calculation, but my electric bill, I pay about 10 cents per kilowatt. So if we divide that out, that is like $400. So for over 16,000 miles, I paid $400 in electricity. If we're looking at my electric bill, like month to month, I've noticed like maybe a $20 to $30 increase. It honestly just depends where I'm driving. My commute to work is typically pretty short, but if I'm going on a longer trip or going out of town frequently, of course that does add up. But in every single scenario, your electric bill is going to be cheaper than your gas bill. But I'll also get to this later as well. Getting a Tesla inspired me to get Tesla Powerwalls and solar. So my Tesla is being charged by the sun in a way for free. I mean, even though I do have to pay those off, once those are paid off, my Tesla will be charged for free. Okay, so when you're not at home, there is supercharging, which that is more money. But for me, I can't really comment on that. But when I bought this vehicle, I began referring my friends on YouTube and Twitter to buy Tesla. And for every Tesla I refer, I get 1,000 miles of supercharging. And there was even a time where they were giving 5,000 miles. And I have like a crazy amount. I have like 25,000 miles of free supercharging that expires like 2 years from now. I'm good. Like, I've spent zero on supercharging so far. And if you buy a Tesla and use my referral code, you get 1,000 free miles anyway. So if you're one to not really travel much, that should last you, over a year anyway. That really shouldn't be part of your calculation with owning a Tesla unless you can't charge at home. But at that point, I would really question if owning a Tesla is worth it, because charging at home is one of the most convenient things about owning an EV. Okay, so tires, over 16,000 miles. I don't doubt that we'll get another 16,000 miles into these. Like, they look pretty good to me. I do floor it quite a bit. This isn't a performance model, so we're not like peeling the tires off with every time we race someone at a stoplight. I see no trouble with these tires. They look good to me. Tesla made no comments to me when they were rotated, so. Okay, so monthly payments, like, we might as well mention the monthly payments. Yeah, it's no like $200 a month Honda Civic lease payment, I pay over $800 a month. Keep in mind, this is the long range rear wheel drive model, which they don't even sell anymore. This model is almost the same cost as the all wheel drive model. It was over $50,000. Plus now I have the full self-driving, so this is like a $56,000 car. So $800 a month is a lot, and I really don't think I would ever be able to afford it unless I was making these videos on YouTube about tech and Tesla. So thank you guys for watching, because if it wasn't for you, I would not be able to pay for this car. So it's kind of just turned into a little hobby for me. So the cost, $800 a month. I am honestly paying more every single month when I'm able to, because I really just want to get this car like payment taken care of, paid off. I just think once this car is paid off, like, the cost to own will be outstanding. If you have no car payment, all you're paying for is cheap electricity, or for me, I'm getting it from the sun now. I just have to pay the solar and Powerwall payment. You can't beat it. Like, a Tesla, yes, can be expensive up front, but once you own it, the cost of ownership is so low, the cost of maintenance is low, it just averages out over time. I do get it, if you're comparing a $20,000 car versus a $50,000 Tesla, it's going to take a long time for the amounts to kind of converge and equal. But if you plan on keeping your car, for over 5 years, it's worth it. I will not lie, I've definitely eyed some other Tesla, like a Tesla Model 3 Performance, but I'm really just trying to like push myself to keep this car long term, because I think it will end up saving me money if I keep it for longer than a few years. Okay, so I want to kind of go back to software updates. So in the year I've had this, it has gotten so many software updates. And the one that really stands out the most, though, is when version 10 came out. So version 10 kind of like redid everything. Like, it made everything better. It added so many more features at once. I recall we have video games added. We have Netflix added. Smart Summon was added with this, I believe. So many cool things. But then also we just have incremental updates. So the updates added stuff like Sentry Mode. It added Dog Mode. It's added countless features that I can't even... It's so much. But the point is, like, every time you get an update, it's like Christmas morning. It's like owning a new car. After a year, I do not want any other car. Like, I am perfectly content with this car. It's great. I see friends and family buying new cars. I don't get jealous at all. Usually when you see people buying new cars, you kind of get that new car itch. I know, like, deep down, this is the best car there is, because it just got so much tech. It updates over the air. It really does what you should expect a car in 2020 to do that no one else does. Another software update that really just sticks in my mind is crazy, because it totally changed the driving dynamic of this vehicle. So previously, how I drove my Tesla was with the accelerator and the brake. Like, that's how you completely stop. But then Tesla came out with an update that literally allows you to drive with one pedal. You go with the accelerator, you stop by just letting off, almost like a trigger of a video game. And yes, there was a feature kind of like that before called hold mode, but I didn't really like it because I would roll back in certain situations. This is perfect. Like, you go forward, you stop, it holds, you don't roll anywhere. I love it. That update completely changed how I drive vehicles. and I love it. I don't know what else to say. Like, that was a crazy, like, kind of like life-changing update. Also, I do have to point out that while I own this vehicle, Tesla finally announced that premium connectivity would be a subscription. And today, now that I mention it, my premium connectivity went away. So when I turned on my vehicle this morning, my GPS, like my satellite maps went away. My streaming went away. So now I have to stream from my phone only. I can't use the internet browser. I can't use Netflix or anything like that. If I do use that, I have to be on Wi-Fi. Also important to note though, the satellite maps and traffic do not show on Wi-Fi. So if you hotspot your phone to your car, it still won't work. I really don't know if I'm going to pay $10 a month just for satellite view maps. Time will tell if I really miss it. But I ain't mad. It's a way for Tesla to make more money. Okay, so full self-driving. That's another thing to point out, because when you buy your Tesla, you are given the option to purchase full self-driving. Right now in 2020, May 2020, full self-driving costs $7,000. And as full self-driving gets better, Tesla's only going to increase the value further. So it's very possible that full self-driving is going to hit $8,000 by the end of 2020. I paid $6,000 last year, right before it bumped up in price. And I made a whole video on if it was worth it. And thinking back to that, I don't regret paying $6,000 for full self-driving. I don't think it's worth it right now, but I do look forward to all the features coming. So I recently got to enjoy stopping with stop signs and stoplights. If I didn't have full self-driving, I never would have gotten to experience that. And also paying for full self-driving allowed me to get Hardware 3, which basically unlocks all the new full self-driving upgrades down the road. One thing though, you have to think long and hard. If you're buying full self-driving and you think that you're going to be buying another Tesla soon, I honestly wouldn't do it. Everyone talks about full self-driving, makes your vehicle appreciate in price because full self-driving gets more valuable over time. But honestly, for what you pay in full self-driving to what you get back if you sold it, like say a year later, I don't think you would see an increase in value. The only time I could imagine that happening is, say if you pay $6,000 for full self-driving last year and you hold on to it so long that 5 years later full self-driving is worth like $20,000 and can do robo-taxi and completely drive you and actually earn money for you by driving people while you work, like that's where the value will be there. But if you just plan on buying full self-driving now and then selling your car in like a year or two, it's hit or miss if that's really worth it. But Tesla is coming out with a full self-driving subscription, which more information is coming later this year, I assume. But I would imagine the monthly cost would be somewhere between like $100 and $200 a month. So if you're a person that likes to lease vehicles or just buy and sell their vehicles quite frequently, maybe that will be worth it for you. For me, full self-driving has really just kind of like made me feel locked into this car. Like as much as I would like to maybe get a Model Y performance or a Model 3 performance or whatever, I feel way more compelled to keep this vehicle since I paid $6,000 for full self-driving. And I kind of want that investment to grow over time, because as full self-driving gets more valuable and gets more features, this car should, I wouldn't say increase in value, but I would say it would depreciate less fast. So road trips, you know, if you're a brand new EV owner, road trips probably give you range anxiety. So when I owned this vehicle, the first like longest trip I took was to Gainesville, which is over 200 miles away. So that uses most of the power in this vehicle. If you're going on the highway like 80 miles an hour, even if this thing has 325 miles of range, me going from here to Gainesville, 200 plus miles away, we get there pretty low charge. But you know what? The great thing is I passed several superchargers along the way. There's actually a supercharger in Gainesville. So that's like a trip I frequently take. No problem for me at all with superchargers. I did go on a longer road trip from here to Virginia, which is over 800 miles. I believe it was 4 superchargers I had to charge at to get there. For a long trip, like, I did not mind stopping at all to charge. I basically charged between like 20 and 40 minutes every time. I just kind of chilled. I got out, got something to drink, used the bathroom. It is important to note, with like everything going on in the world right now with like quarantine, there were less things open, so it's not like you could just like walk into a restaurant and eat. There was like very limited amenities for stuff like that. A big worry for me too was me getting to my destination, which the city I was going to had no superchargers, had no really good EV chargers at all. So my worry was just kind of like surviving when I was in town. But what I did was charge at the last supercharger closest to town and just charge all the way up to like almost 100%. That way I got to town with a pretty good battery charge. And then I just plugged in every single night with a normal cord, a normal outlet. You know, it doesn't charge very fast, but it gives you about 50 extra miles per night. And then if you can get super lucky and find a friend or family member out of town with like a dryer plug, you can really recoup a lot of battery life way quicker. So I did kind of both of those things, and I was out of town for a week, in a town with no Tesla chargers, and I survived, and I was honestly worried about it. No range anxiety here whatsoever for any reason in the 1 year I've owned this car. So, like I said, owning this Tesla Model 3 really just got me more involved in the Tesla community, got me more involved with kind of like renewable energy. Like I said, that's what convinced me to get the Tesla Powerwalls. I got 2 of those. I got 36 solar panels on my roof. I'm really looking forward to just like continually charging this vehicle with the sun. So you have an electric vehicle. A lot of people say, you know, oh, your car isn't clean. You're still using electricity from the grid, which could be powered by coal. So in theory, your car isn't very green. That's not very true, because electric vehicles are very efficient regardless. But I did want to have I did like the idea of powering this vehicle with the sun and also powering my whole house with the sun. So that's kind of what convinced me to go that route. I'm extremely happy. I do have to say that when I get home from work rather late in the day, it will suck a lot of juice from that Powerwall if I plug this vehicle in later in the day as the sun's starting to go down. But you can set in the app how much power you want the Powerwalls to keep, just in case the grid goes out. That's one thing I'm kind of looking forward to. I live in Florida. Hurricane season is coming, and I'm actually kind of somewhat wanting a decent storm just to see the power go out for a day or two, because I want to see how these guys perform in that scenario. Now, this is a weird one, and it's kind of weird to add to a Tesla Model 3 review, but I do want to point out that joining the Tesla community actually made me an investor. I will not say I'm a good investor at all, but since owning a Tesla, I've started investing into Tesla stock. I have 15 shares right now, which has been a roller coaster in itself. And I also got into trading options a little bit. The first time I bought options, I spent $250 and turned it into about $20,000. The most insane time of my life. I probably won't be able to ever replicate it again, but I kind of just owe that to having a Tesla, because I never would have thought to do it. I'm just going to continue buying more Tesla shares at the right time. I mean, who knows? It could be where I could sell my Tesla shares and pay off my Tesla and my solar. That's kind of the point, huh? So regrets. Do I have any regrets owning this car for a year? Do I wish I bought anything else? The only thing I regret sometimes is not getting the Tesla Model 3 Performance. But at the time I bought this vehicle for about $50,000, the Model 3 Performance was like $65,000, and I really could not justify that price. Now, in May of 2020, the Model 3 Performance is like $56,000. But of course, if you add the white seats and blue, it's getting up there again. So it would be closer to $60,000. And then if you added full self-driving, it adds up. It adds up. But I kind of just do wish I did spend a little bit extra money for the Performance. So I would be happy with this car long term. That's the only wish I wish this car had, was faster. But how can I complain when it's already super fast, super torquey. I've never driven a Model 3 Performance. I don't even know what I'm missing. This car is great. You know, you have to kind of learn to be happy with what you have, or you're just going to like constantly always want to upgrade and never be happy. That being said, this big hyped battery investor day should be coming up later in the year, where Elon unveils new battery technology. I'm kind of like hoping that a 100 kilowatt Tesla Model 3 comes out that maybe has 400-mile range, maybe has ludicrous mode. Like, I would maybe be down to purchasing that. But then the back of my mind thinks about how good I've been at paying this car off, and I really just want a Tesla that's paid off, because the thought of having no car payment, very cheap, zero maintenance costs, very cheap to power with electricity, like that just sounds great. Let's hope I can keep this car another year. The longer I keep this car, the longer I can chime in on long-term ownership. That benefits you guys. It benefits my bank account for not trading up to something more expensive. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe. So guys, I made such a long video, I forgot to do an outro, so that's cool. If you need to watch some more Tesla videos of mine, which of course you do, you have nothing else to do, I'll put one here, I'll put one here, and subscribe to my channel. I'll put my head right there. Bye!